Manchester United working on a deal to sign Rabiot from Juventus. Man United must decide if they proceed, irrespective of the ongoing Frankie de Jong pursuit, or await the outcome of that before deciding. This comes from David Ornstein this morning. Very credible news, very credible update. But it appears panic buyers are starting to set in at Manchester United. First Arnautovic, now Rabiot, two players, in most people's opinion, past their very best. They may be improvements of what Manchester United have already got, but where are the standards? The process is being cheated. Eric Ten Hag is not being fully backed, and Manchester United are heading back down the road of ruin once again. It was a very tough opening day to the season for Manchester United Football Club. It truly, truly was. Poor performance, poor outcome, and a real wake-up call for Eric Ten Hag. The last thing you want to read about the following morning as a Man United fan is more panic buys. And do Arnautovic and Rabiot make us a better squad? You could argue so. Rabiot is probably a better midfielder than anybody else that's currently in the football club after Matic and Paul Pogba left. I don't think many people would deny that. I don't think many people would argue with you on that statement. I think it's fairly universal. Most people would agree with you. However, and this has to be said, it's not a level of upgrade that you would expect. Yes, there's 1 year remaining on his deal. It's a relatively cheap deal. This player, though, comes with an element of problems in himself. This individual comes with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. His mother is very, very difficult to deal with. And it isn't the kind of deal that Manchester United fans are looking for. The problem that we find ourselves in is Eric Ten Hag has been left in a very difficult position. Some of it of his own doing, some of it down to the club. I saw a tweet from a Man United fan last night that will remain nameless that basically stated if the manager doesn't start getting rid of club favourites, he will lose his job. Fans will lose faith in him and eventually be sacked. And I agree with elements of it. If he doesn't get rid of the players that are not good enough, or he continues to pick the McTominays and the Freds and the Rashfords when they're out of form, of course fans will lose faith. But what this manager needs is backing. What this manager needs is a number of quality players to be brought into the club. Now, I'm not expecting 7, 8, 9, 10 players in one summer. I think that's too much. I actually do think it's too much to integrate and you can burn people. 3 isn't enough. No midfielders isn't enough. No new attackers isn't enough. Man United lost Cavani and they lost Greenwood. No replacement in yet. Pogba, Matic gone. No replacement in yet. I understand not deviating from number one targets, but we did need more than Frankie de Jong. Frankie de Jong by himself was never, ever, ever going to be enough. And now we're starting to hear the same excuses and see the same performances from this team, and it's leaving us in a very precarious position. Listen to what Gary Neville and Roy Keane had to say yesterday.
It's a familiar performance, and the people above him should have known that that was an unacceptable situation to hand Eric Ten Hag that squad at the start of the season. It needed improving more than it has been already. Now, obviously, there's 2 or 3 weeks to go in the transfer window, but he needed 3 or 4 weeks to be able to work with them. And I'm sure there's an element of every new coach that comes in thinks they can do better with the players that are there than the last coach because they believe they're a better coach. And that's probably the case with this. But the reality of it is I think he's seen what those players are today. They had a good season, those players, when the fans weren't in the stadiums during COVID. But last season, when the fans came back, if you remember, they came back in all those games and when in the COVID season, if they went behind, I don't know how many times they went behind and then kept coming back. It was unrealistic. Once they now go behind in games, they can't always come back and they're dropping points. And I don't think any Manchester United fan, any pundit, anybody who's watched this team over the last 12 months, seen those same players playing in the same positions, expecting anything different than they saw today. Eric Ten Hag will be disappointed because he saw promising signs in pre-season, but the reality has hit home.
Do you see any improvement from that performance today, Roy?
And firstly, he's absolutely spot on there. There is an element of the manager that will say, "Do you know what? Maybe I can do better. Maybe I can get more out of these players." The problem is the mentality and the mental application of some of our individuals is key. In pre-season, when there's no pressure, they turn up. As soon as they have to deliver, their tails go between their legs.
Any cause for optimism?
No, not really. And I think people have to be wary of what Gary mentions there when people say pre-season. I think that was a lot of PR nonsense coming out of Man United. I saw 1 or 2 of the games and I still saw some of the same problems. Again, we go back to a lot of the players in the starting 11, particularly midfield. It's the same characters, same personalities. Okay, some of these players have there's elements of talent in the squad, but when they do have a little setback, they can't seem to deal with it. Again, I go back to that DNA of this club or the culture of the players or what's going on the training ground. It's not there. I don't see personalities. I don't see character. You said Harry,
and it's very key to point out there what's being said. No personality, no character. That comes before ability. I believe a culture of a club, the personality, the perseverance, the attitude, how you deviate adversity. If you don't have that as a bedrock of your club, it doesn't matter if you add talent, because that talent will get eaten by the culture. Culture eats strategy for breakfast every single day of the week.
Maguire used after the game saying it was a nightmare start. Well, it's up to the players to do something about it. Harry's the captain. After every game or the last season, he keeps coming up. We're disappointed. We'll regroup. We'll go again. Leopards and spots.
Exactly there. And I think Roy Keane's absolutely spot on to talk about Maguire's cowardice in relation to what he had to say. What I want to say before we move any further is we are sponsored again today by our friends at Private Internet Access. You know how cheap it is, less than £1.70 per month to protect your data online. Scan that QR code on the screen or click on the link in the description below to protect all your personal data from hackers, from big businesses selling it to make profits. Make sure your stream quality remains absolutely crystal clear at all times. And of course, you're fully encrypting all your data. Scan that QR code now, 3 months free from the Football Terrace and up to 82% off their premium deluxe package. Now, back to the news about Rabiot today. I mean, look, this is a player that if 5 years ago United were linked to him, you'd probably say, wow, I'm very excited. This could be a good piece of business. This could be a good deal. This could be something that can improve Manchester United. But in 2022, absolutely not. This is a panic buy 101. Ruben Neves is better and Premier League proven. Yuri Tillemans is available for 35, 40 million pounds and is better and is Premier League proven. And both are available. Now, I get maybe waiting on Ruben Neves because they're now talking 60, 70 million pounds to bring him in, which is a similar price to that of Frankie de Jong. But with Yuri Tillemans being available for, in the modern day sense of the word, a relatively cheap price, and I know Arsenal are favourites for him, and I know the clubs hate the bad PR, but try and get him. Slap a 40 million pound bid down today. Speak to the player and say, what have Arsenal offered you? Look, there's 20, 30, 40,000 pound a week more. Offer him an extra 100,000 pound a week via bonuses if the team qualify for the Champions League, as an example. You know, take a bit of a risk here and say, okay, well, join us and we'll stick a contract clause in. In 2 years' time, if we haven't re-qualified for the Champions League, you can leave for what we paid for you. You know, do something adventurous, do something creative to try and bring a player in. I think Arsenal would then step in and sign him. I do. But I want to see the club try it. Stop worrying about what rivals say online or what, oh, you've been rejected. So what? Been rejected by Darwin Núñez this summer. There's nothing you can do to spin the story. I don't care how credible the journalist is that you feed the bullshit into. Proper Man United fans aren't buying it. We know what happened there. I understand the pursuit of Frankie de Jong. You're absolutely right that we should be chasing down our number one targets, going after number two targets. But someone put this thought into my head yesterday, and it's something I haven't really thought about much over the summer. And this is why you talk to people, you educate yourself, and you could change your opinion somewhat. And all they said, and it was very, very true, was with or without Frankie de Jong, we still need to improve other areas. As a box-to-box midfielder, Yuri Tillemans is better than everything we've got. He's an improvement on Scott McTominay, who is not a DM and is an average box-to-box. So buy Yuri Tillemans irrespective. You still need him irrespective. The Glazers have got to prove that the money's there. Richard Arnold has got to prove that 200 odd million pounds that he said was there is in the coffers. Go and spend it. Now, I know people's response will be, well, you said that Spurs shouldn't have spent 60 million on Richarlison. That's because I don't think Richarlison is worth 60 million. By the way, what have I said about Ruben Neves? I think spending 60, 70 million pounds on him would be a waste because he isn't that valuable. I don't think you're going to get a return on that investment. But 35, 40 million on Yuri Tillemans, it's absolutely worth it. It truly, truly is. That isn't saying splash stupid cash on players that are not up to improving the team. If we end up spending 15 million on Arnautovic, I think we're marginally better. And we've laid out 15 million, and the man's talking about a 3-year deal. That's poor spending. Got no issue with clubs spending money, but is there value in the deal? Are you going to get a return on that investment genuinely? And when you start spending over 50, 60 million pounds on players, you're talking they have to be of first team quality. Let's see what Manchester United do. Big words there from Gary Neville. Big words there from Roy Keane. But Rabiot, is that really going to improve Manchester United? Or do you believe panic stations are being set in? Is the rug already being pulled from underneath Erik ten Hag's feet? Is this rebuild already tarnished? Certainly starting to look that way.